Hey, this is Matthew Doyle for Autodesk. We got a question from you guys on Facebook on how you would do Xbox controller input inside of a Stingray project, and we're going to give you that answer today. And it's actually quite easy to do. The easiest way to do it is using Level Flow. Now you could do this with Lua script as well, but because Level Flow is so much easier to get into, I'm going to show you that way today. And but all we need to do first, of course, is to have an Xbox controller plugged into our PC via USB port, and of course you need to install the Xbox controller driver from just Google that and you'll be able to find that. Alright, so inside of Level Flow here I have a nice blank area. We're going to right click and we're going to go down to Input and choose Xbox thumbstick. Alright, and this is going to allow us to control the axis of a camera in this case. Now, the thumbstick we can choose here in this little field here, we're going to choose the right thumbstick. Now, generally in most games, the left thumbstick controls movement, while the right thumbstick controls the camera rotation. So we're going to go with the right thumbstick. Now, what we need to do is we need to get a vector of the direct based off of the axis of the thumbstick, and we'll use that vector to tell our camera where to look. So we're going to go ahead and pull out of the axis value here, and we're going to click left. And once we've left clicked, we can choose again from our flow menu here. We're going to choose vector components. You can find that under math, vector, and then go down to vector components. Here we go. All right, so this gives us all of the components of our vector from the axis of the thumbstick. We've got our X, Y, and Z. So what we want to do here is we want to set up a little multiplication of these components so that we can invert them if necessary. So I'm going to start with the X component here, drag out, left click, and I'm going to go back down to math. I'm going to choose numeric multiplication, and I'm going to multiply this particular component by 1. Now in this case, that's not going to do anything, but if I ever need to change the direction to invert it, I can just make this a -1, and it will invert that axis. So for the Z, we're going to leave the Z alone, and for the Y, we're also going to multiply it, and we'll go back to math, numeric multiplication, and in this case, we're going to multiply the Y by -1. We're going to invert the result. So now that we have the results that we want, we're going to go ahead and plug those into a rotation from components node. So we'll start with the X value up here, and we'll go down to math, rotation, and rotation from components. Now this rotation from components by default plugged me into the X component, but I don't want that. I'm actually going to go to the Z on this one, and we'll delete that. And then on my second one here, the Y, I'm going to plug the Y into the X. Alright, so that's a little counterintuitive there. Just keep in mind that you want your X plugged into the Z and you want your Y plugged into the X. So that's the X axis of your thumbstick controller. That's going to be controlling the Z rotation. And the Y axis is going to be controlling the X rotation. Alright? And that's going to allow us to look left and right and up and down. Alright. So from here, we just need to go ahead and plug that straight into our camera. However, we're going to add another node to allow us to control the speed of the rotation. So we'll just go ahead and pull out of the rotation here again, left click again and go back to math, and we're going to go to rotation and in rotation times numeric. And this is going to allow us to control how fast the camera rotates. And I'm going to put a value of 0.1. Obviously a value of 1 would mean it rotates at exactly the same speed, 1-to-1 to the axis of your joystick or your thumb pad. With a 0.1, it's going to be at a tenth of that speed. So it's going to be really slow, but at least you'll see the result. Alright, so now we just need to specify our camera. Now I've already got a variable set up for my camera, so I'm going to go down to variable and then get unit variable. And the name of my variable for my camera is my camera. Imagine that. All right. And I could have just plugged in the camera directly. So I could go up to the Explorer here and select my camera, then right click, create level unit camera, and I can work off of this. But I have already defined the camera as a variable inside of my flow. And that way I can just reuse the variable everywhere I want to use it. And it helps keep my flow clean. Otherwise you'll see all these lines all over the place connecting back to the camera. So we're going to work with the variable here, and now we just need to rotate the actual camera. So all we need to do is go down to unit and then rotate unit, and we're just going to tie our camera variable here into the unit input, and then our final output, our rotation value, will be tied into the delta rotation of that rotate unit flow node. Alright, and then finally the last thing we need to do is go all the way back to our Xbox thumbsticks out, and we'll tie the out to the in of our rotate unit. And that should do it. So that is our flow setup for controlling an Xbox, or for controlling a camera using an Xbox thumbstick. So let's go ahead and do a quick level test, and we'll see it in action. Alright, so here's our Xbox controller. Now we can see here I'm inverted. So if what's happening is I'm looking to the left while I'm holding it to the right. Likewise, I'm currently looking to the left. On my thumbstick, I'm pushing left and it's going right. And then I'm going down on my thumbstick and it's looking up, and vice versa. So that's a little bit like airplane controlling. So we can go into our settings and change those to get the inversion working. You can also see the speed is quite slow, so that's 0.1. So we'll go back into flow, and let's go ahead and change some of these values. So first of all, I'm going to jump the speed up to say 0.5, and then we're going to invert some of these settings. Now I've been using the same setup here for my mouse up above. So we can see here this is the exact same setup works for a mouse. So we've got this mouse axis here. And this works just like the Xbox thumbstick axis. It's plugged into the exact same nodes here. So you can do the same thing for the thumbstick as well as the mouse. And what we're going to do here is we're going to invert these values. So we're going to change this 1 to a -1. And this -1 we will change to a 1. All right. And now we'll jump back into our level and play it. And now we've got a much faster rotation of our camera, and I'm turning left at this time, and now I'm turning right, just as my thumbstick should. I'm looking up, perfect, looking down, perfect. So now we have a nice, fairly accurate representation of controlling the camera. It could use a little work. There's some things we could do. You can see it's kind of twisting a little bit as we look around. We could probably make some adjustments there. But overall, this is a good basic start to adding thumbstick controls for a camera. All right, well, I hope that answers your questions, guys. If you have any more questions, just send them our way through Facebook or Twitter, and we'll be happy to get to them. Thanks a lot.